Today, we're going to get into something called the science of creative intelligence. Now, I know it's a big name, but it boils down to a really simple but kind of profound idea about where our best ideas, our creativity, our insights, even our happiness, where that all really comes from.
But before we dive in, just think about this for a second. Where does a thought actually come from? I mean, really, one moment it's not there, and the next moment, poof, it is. It just appears. That little mystery right there, that's our starting point today.
So the material we're looking at today introduces this core concept of creative intelligence. And look, this is not just about human creativity, like painting a picture or writing a song. The idea here is that this intelligence is a fundamental, hidden quality in all of life. It's what's guiding everything from a tiny seed growing into a tree to a whole galaxy swirling in space.
So what does it mean to study this? Well, the science of creative intelligence, or SCI for short, is basically a way of looking at this hidden force. It's about systematically exploring what it is, figuring out how we can cultivate it, and then, the big one, how to actually apply it to make our own lives better.
Okay, a central idea here is that everything has two sides to it. You've got the physical thing we can see and touch, a person, a rock, a planet, and then you've got this invisible intelligence that's organizing it, that's keeping it all going. And according to this viewpoint, they're a package deal. You just can't have one without the other.
Now, for as long as we've been around, humans have been trying to grow and improve themselves. And what's interesting is the source material argues that pretty much every method we've ever come up with for self-development falls into one of just three main buckets.
So here are the big three. You've got the sensory path, which is all about engaging with the physical world through our senses. Then there's the intellectual path, that's the world of logic, reason, analyzing things. And finally, the emotional path, which connects us through feelings, through art, through our relationships. Now, these are all powerful, valid ways to experience life. But, and this is a big but, they might all be missing something crucial.
And here it is. This is the critical point. All three of those paths, they have the same basic limitation. They all work on the expressions of our intelligence. The thoughts we have, the feelings we feel, but only after they've already bubbled up to the surface. They don't actually engage with that deep, quiet well where it all came from in the first place.
So, if just dealing with the stuff on the surface has its limits, what's the alternative? Well, there's a really simple but powerful metaphor to explain a completely different way of looking at it.
And this just says it all, doesn't it? Instead of running around trying to polish every leaf or paint every piece of fruit, the idea is to just focus on nourishing the root. Because if the root is healthy, then every single part of the tree, the leaves, the branches, the fruit, it all just flourishes naturally without you having to force it.
Okay, so let's bring this metaphor back to us, to our own minds. That root is the silent source of thought we were talking about right at the start. And the fruit? That's everything else. Our actions, our ideas, our relationships, our feelings, the whole shebang. The argument is simple. To improve the fruit of your life, you've got to water the root.
So how do you actually do that? How do you water the root? This brings us to the practical side of things. The source material puts forward a specific technique for this, transcendental meditation. It's presented as a direct method for letting the mind settle down, way beyond its busy thinking surface.
Now this lays out a really fascinating principle. The claim here is that any system that relies on thinking or feeling or sensing, basically any system that keeps the mind active, can't, by its very definition, reach that silent source. To get to the root of thought, the mind actually has to go beyond thought itself.
So, based on that logic, any truly effective system has to tick a few boxes. First, it has to take you beyond all that surface-level activity of the mind. Second, it has to directly get in touch with that quiet, creative source. It also has to be totally effortless. You can't try to be silent, right? And, crucially, it has to release stress from the nervous system, which is seen as the physical static that blocks our access to this deeper level.
And this isn't just a philosophy. This is where the science really comes into play, connecting these deep mental states to real, measurable changes in the body. Here's the foundational principle. Mind and body are totally connected. They're a package deal. For every single state of consciousness, whether you're stressed, excited, or calm, there's a corresponding state of your physiology. So if the mind is truly experiencing deep quiet, your body has to reflect that quiet in ways we can actually measure.
And this is where the data comes in. The source points to studies on this technique that found a really unique physiological state. On one hand, the body goes into this profound state of rest. Your metabolism slows down, oxygen use drops, cardiac output decreases. But, and this is the paradox, while the body is deeply resting, the mind is wide awake, super alert. Some studies even show faster reaction times. This unique combination of deep rest and heightened alertness is seen as the scientific signature of transcending.
So what's the end game here? What's the long-term goal of experiencing this state over and over? Well, it's not just about what happens for 20 minutes during the practice. It's about fundamentally changing your daily experience of life. The path to get there is laid out in 4 basic stages. It starts with the regular experience of that silent source. You just keep dipping into it. Through that repetition, the nervous system habituates. It gets used to functioning with this deep, underlying stability. Then, gradually, that state gets integrated. It's no longer just something that happens when you're meditating, it becomes a permanent feature of your daily life. And the result? A natural evolution towards living with more clarity, more stability, and just more fulfillment.
And that brings us right back to where we started. We began by asking, where does a thought come from? What we've explored today suggests that not only can we find that source, but we can actually draw from it. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What would it mean for you to have access to that silent, creative foundation right in the middle of your busiest, most chaotic day?